Houston Office 365 community. Tonight we're going to talk about Microsoft lists and what they are, and give you an overview and show you some examples of what you can use lists for, and then unmask the villain behind Microsoft lists. So this is what we're going to take you in 1 second. All right, so my name is Johnny Lopez. I am a managing consultant, Microsoft 365 architect. I work for a company called Catapult. We're a consulting company based we're based all over the place, based out of Austin, but I work here locally in Houston. I am the president for the Microsoft 365 community, and we also host the Houston PowerPoint user group and the Houston Office 365 Saturday as well. And we have a couple of announcements. So we have multiple user groups. So if you guys are first time, welcome. Thank you for joining. If you have any questions during the presentation, please feel free to raise your hand or post a chat, and we'll get with you. If you want to come off mute, it's an open forum, so please feel free to do so. Anytime you want to come off mute, that is absolutely welcome. So let's talk about some upcoming events. First of all, we meet on the third Wednesday of every month. And each month we meet on the third Wednesday. We have a site, HOU365.org. You can go there and find anything that we're doing, any events that are coming up, and you can sign up for different things and follow us and all that good stuff. So we welcome you to that. The next event that's coming up is Microsoft Ignite. If you have not gone to Microsoft Ignite and registered, please do. It's a free online event that you can sign up for. This is the first time it's been free in a long time. It is an online event, so just bear with. A lot of those sessions are going to be pre-recorded. There's a lot of good announcements that are coming out with new technologies Microsoft is releasing, some new capabilities in the entire ecosystem and the entire Microsoft 365 platform. So I'll show you guys the site, and I'll show you a couple other things too as well. We also have what is called the Secure Remote Workforce Summit. This is an all-day session on September 30th. Catapult is hosting that. So we're going to have the Microsoft CTO join us to talk about innovation and remote workforce. But we also have a bunch of business sessions that you could come out and they're all virtually online. You can come out and watch and interact with the sessions, whether you're a Power Platform admin, Microsoft Search, security, Teams, all that good stuff. So we're going to be talking about a very wide variety of things. And then also we have the virtual Houston, the HOU365 Friday. This is going to be our annual event like we do with SharePoint Saturday. Unfortunately, because of COVID and other things that are happening in our economy, we can't do face-to-face meetings. So we're going to do an online virtual Friday, so that way we can give you time back. If you can take a day and do that, great. But it's not over the weekend. It's going to be on a Friday, October 30th, from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. We're going to record all the sessions. We're going to have about 25 to 30 sessions. Speakers are going to be including Microsoft MVP, Microsoft employees, community leaders in the technology, those different types of folks. So from people from all over the world are going to be speaking, but it's open to anyone that wants to join. So feel free to join us for the virtual HOU365 Friday. With that said, I'm just going to go ahead and show you the sites real quick. So this is the excuse me. This is my demo. 1 second. That is a funny meme. We'll get into that. So this is the Microsoft Ignite. So again, join us for the free digital event, September 22nd to the 24th. You can sign it up for free. The Secure Workforce Summit, I'll put these all in the chat so you can have them. But again, it's on September 30th from 9:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. And then we have our Office 360 or virtual HOU365 Friday. It's actually in 43 days. We will have a schedule posted here pretty soon. We have most of the speakers committed, and we have some sponsors. And it's going to be all virtual. We're going to do everything through Teams. We're going to have virtual breakout sessions through Teams. Well, not technically breakout sessions, but we're going to have some formatted sessions that we can utilize. We're going to have different tracks. We are going to have a Halloween costume contest for the speakers. And then also, we are encouraging our speakers to wear a Halloween costume and turn on their camera. But anyone that wants to do that as well, we're going to have some announcements coming out. So if you guys want to be free with that, we can. All right. So that is all for my announcements for today. All right. So with that said, what are Microsoft lists? Microsoft lists, they are individual or group lists that can be created to store, track, manage data, just like SharePoint lists. This is a kind of a visualization of what they are. But think about a SharePoint list, but in a different location. It's stored differently. You can go and put them on sites. You can put them individually, so you can use them for yourself. You can use them in various different concepts, whether you're using them for Teams or Power Platform or forums, those different types of things. So Microsoft lists can be created, they can be organized, collaborated, and shared as well. So Microsoft Lists is it's a Microsoft 365 app that really helps you track information or organize your works. They're simple, smart, and flexible. You can stay on top of what matters most to your team. So it can help you track issues, assets, routines, contacts, inventory lists, inventory tracking lists, and more, using customizable views and smart rules and alerts to keep everyone in sync. There are some ready-made templates you can quickly start list online on the new mobile app as well, and also directly from within Microsoft Teams. And because of this it is part of Office 365, you still can rely on the enterprise grade security and compliance. So I don't know if you guys know this, but there's a new feature with list creations in Office 365. When you create a SharePoint list, you can literally create a list from other lists on other sites, and we'll go through that in the demo as well. So this is something that is very useful, and it doesn't bring over content. So if you remember the list export import function, when you would, hey, I want to recreate this list, and I go export the template, and I can export the content with the template, and I can upload that into another SharePoint site, into the list gallery, and I can create the new list with the list gallery in the SharePoint site, and boom, I had a list with all my content. It's a similar concept, but it's very easy. The only thing it doesn't do right now, it doesn't copy for the content. So it does copy over the content types. It does copy over the columns. It does not copy over the default view, so you have to kind of change that. So that's the thing that's lacking, is the view. So that's something that we can definitely, we'll definitely look at some of those things. Did someone have a question? Come on, mute. Nope. Okay, moving right along. Thank you. So when you create a new list, you can create a personal list. You can create a group list. You can create a list from Excel. You can create, like I said, a list from another list. Blank list, you choose the option. You can start from scratch, give it a name, description, all that good stuff. The list will save to My List unless you choose one of the SharePoint sites or Teams from the save list. And then when you finish selecting your options, you can click Create. There is you can import or create a list from Excel like we did before. That's a really nice option. So there are pre-selected templates that can use, such as issue tracker. We're all familiar with that issue tracker list, or that task list that used to be heavily used in SharePoint on-prem. That was out of the box that you could utilize and had some automation around it. So Microsoft does have a list of templates that you can explore, and you can actually create your own. So this is an example of some of the templates that you can create. So when you go and create a list, you can use a template, but it gives you a nice little description of the template, gives you a name. It also shows you some sample data. And then when it provisions this list based on the template, it's ready to go, and you just start adding your fields or start adding your items. If you create it from blank, from scratch, then you create columns. So think of a site column, site content types, same concept. I do have some discovery information I'll share with you at the end of the presentation that you're going to find either comical or useful, whatever the case is. So let's talk about list components. So what is the list components of the Microsoft list contain? They are modern lists. You can use cite columns. It's the same concept as in SharePoint. There's an editable Power Apps form that you can actually use on the list. I'll write off the Microsoft list. There are list views. You can have permissions for the list. There is a quick edit function. So again, because it's a modern list, it has those types of capabilities where you can connect easily Power Apps and Power Automate to the list itself. And there are export options. So if you need to export or import content within the list in or out, you can do so by doing that. If you're having trouble finding a list, you can search for list and type in a keyword in the search box at the top of the page. Your results will include all the lists matching the query that you have access in your organization. So if you're having trouble, you can do a search and find a list. Sorry, there's a little gnat flying around my desk. So you can share list. Right now, sharing is internal only. So you can't share these Microsoft lists externally. But keep in mind, because SharePoint has the external share capability, and this list is kind of building that platform, we'll be able to do that eventually. I haven't seen any roadmap yet on Microsoft List, but I'm sure that Microsoft are going to make some announcements here at Ignite next week. So the sharing is pretty easy. So from the list app, point to the list and select open actions. If you guys are familiar with the open actions, it's that little 3 dot. Usually what it is, and then select share. Put the name of an email address. They can edit, review, or have full control. You can add a message, notify people, grant access. Good to go. Again, you have edit, view, and full control. Those are the 3 options for your list. So edit, remember that edit is not just contribute anymore. That edit permission is more than just contribute. So keep in mind, we can look at those in the demo. So when you, this is kind of what the homepage looks like on Microsoft List. I'll show you guys a demo. So you can add and remove lists from your favorites. So there is a favorite section. So you have a list that you favor that you want to get to quickly. Notice here, gotta eat. I like my dinner tracker, so I put my dinner tracker in my favorites list. There's also a recent list section that you can visit. So you can look at all your recent lists that you visited. And to see only your recent person list that you created in My List, select the arrow next to the recent list, and then you can actually toggle between recent lists and the heading, and you can click My List View, and it'll only take you to the list that you created. So if you look at this example here, I don't have my pointer plugged in, but this right here, my cursor, this is my list. This is a team site, a SharePoint team site. This is an About Us list on a site collection somewhere. And then this is a communication site list that's on a communication site template. So you can have a list associated to just about any site template except for the app catalog, of course. But you can toggle between the two on that. So to reset the filters or view section, just refresh the browser, hit the page, go back. Unfortunately, that's the only refresh right now. So with the Power Apps forms, this is the view that you can have within Microsoft List. So notice here, this is Microsoft List, and I have a real example for this. I went in and created a Power App view based on, or Power App form, sorry, based on the list data. So I was able to quickly throw together a Power App that can show the travel request. And now I can take this link and put it anywhere in SharePoint, Yammer, Teams, and now there's a travel request embedded anywhere, and the list data is stored in my list section here. All right, so let's jump in the demo. I'm not going to show you that last slide just yet. I don't want to show any spoilers. But Microsoft List, I'm just going to start at office.com. If you haven't seen the new office.com, this is pretty cool. I want to show you real quick. So this is the new office.com. And you go into, this is my dev tenant, by the way, just want to let you know. Notice here all the icons are on the left hand side. So those commonly office icons, Word, Excel, PowerPoint are here. You can create these from the menu now. And also here are your more solid products that you can click into, and it will open up those specific products. But if you click on the waffle and if you have access to list, you have Microsoft List. And here's one of the caveats: if you are a user and you don't have a provisioned OneDrive, it will not take you to Microsoft List. It will take you to Delve. And that's just a spoiler that yes, List run on OneDrive. Excuse me. So this is what it looks like Microsoft List. I still have the common consistent Office ribbon at the top here with my navigation. I still have an app launcher or the waffle. Nice little title, search box. This is going to search through Microsoft List. I don't know if it's connected yet to Microsoft Search. As you can tell, it is not. Because if I had this was connected to Microsoft Search, when I clicked on it, it will actually pop out with predictive search. This is not part of it, so you're only searching Microsoft List. I have some tools here. There's no settings per se. I am global admin, tenant admin. I have all the rights in this tenant, but there are no settings just yet for the list. And there's also your profile and others. So this is your favorite section. This is your recents. This is what I was talking about, where I can toggle between the recent on my list and the recent on all lists. So this is how you can do that as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and go through the process of creating a new list. When you click new list, notice you can create from blank. You can import from Excel, and this is that you can create a list from an existing list. So if I click on this, what it's doing is going through all of the SharePoint sites. And notice here I have a lot of SharePoint sites. And it's actually going through and looking for lists in those sites. So if I click on any one of these, it's going to pull up the list. This one doesn't have to have a list. I pull this one up. So some of these sites have lists, some of them don't. Notice here I can create lists based on that. If I wanted to go here, look, okay, I know I want to create a specific list around maybe invoice task. So when I click next, the invoice task is a name. You can give it a description, choose a color. You can choose an icon as well. These icons are limited right now. I wish you could go into that icon generator that is working with modern sites, and you can pull from any icon, but this is what you get for now. You can save to my list, or you can select a SharePoint site. So I can select the SharePoint site that this is going to go into. This is a communication site that I'll post this in, and I can also show in site navigation, or I can just go and put it in my list. It's really, really, this is where only I can have access and see it. Well, I guess this is you put this in the site, it adheres to the site itself. So I'm going to go ahead and click create, and based on that specific list, this is what we have. We have a my list section with invoice from an existing list. And again, it doesn't recreate the view per se, but you can go in here and edit the current view just like in SharePoint. And we can go and add the items that we want to see here. Now, I'm not going to get too far into that, but what I want to show you too is the templates. So here are some of the templates that are out of the box that you can select from. So your issue tracker, your onboarding, event itinerary, all that good stuff. You want to do a content scheduler, travel requests, or whatever the case is. I'm just going to do an issue tracker list. And notice here it shows me a nice little preview of what is in the list and what it could look like. I'm going to go ahead and use this template, and I'm going to give it a color and an icon. And I'm going to save this to my list. And now that I have an issue tracker list that has all of the things that I need on here. So when I create a new item, notice here, this is just like a SharePoint form. It comes out, pops out in a new item. I can enter my information. give it some information. Select a priority, it's high, all that good stuff. Assign it to someone. I need this date report was today, all that good stuff. So go ahead and save it. And notice here now I have a new issue here. I can also do a quick edit and add new items in this view as well, and be able to give it a description, what's the priority. And I'm just using my cursor too. I'm not there. You can click into it. It's normal. I can give it a status here, and I can give it a sign, the date. Someone told me yesterday, and then I can go and use the other information. So once I exit it, now I can do anything within this confinement. So I can look at some automation if I wanted to. There are some alerts. This works just like SharePoint alerts. Once I create the alert, I can share the list. Like as I was talking to you before, so I want to share this list with Adele because she's my retail manager, and I want to give her edit access. Can't edit or add items, can't share the list. So I can give her a notification, and now she has access to this list. So now, actually, when Adele logs in, she can access this list specifically. So let me go ahead and do that. I'm going to log in with Adele. I'm going to open a new office.com. And if the demo guides are good to me, this is gonna work. Oh, great. Been a while since I logged in. Here you go. So now I'm in office.com. New user, Adele, she's here. I'm gonna go to Microsoft list. And of course it did not. All right, let's do this. All right, so I can open that issue tracker and now it shows up. So, all right, I guess so you have to open it for it to show up, which still is not showing up here. Nope. All right, so now Adele has can actually, this user can edit this item and operate that change of status to in progress, save, and now this is updated. Okay, so enough of that. Let's go back to Microsoft List. And what I wanted to show you was the travel request Power App that we created here. So as you can see here, I have the travel request template. And within that template, I want to show you the list settings. If you're a SharePoint admin or site admin or IT pro, this is very familiar to you. If you know the list settings piece of this, but as you can see here, I can go through and look at different columns that are available to me. I can also make changes to the content type if I need to, or use site content types, or I'm sure at one point in time we can use content types from the content type hub and all those good things. So, all right. Just wanted to show you the settings. You can turn on versioning. You have control of settings just like you do in a list. You can make sure that the list is in new experience, all that stuff. You can look at the content type itself, and you can see the columns that are associated to this list specifically. So what I did is I created, when I create new, as you can see here, it's loading Power Apps, and now I have a nice Power App form, reason for travel, vacay requester. This is interesting. I'm requesting it for myself. All right. Airline. Sorry, Rick, there's no United, so I'm just going to have to fly Southwest. And I want to leave tomorrow. It's pretty aggressive. And I'm going for the rest of the month. All right. So I can just go ahead and click submit. And here you go. It submits to the list. Notice one thing. This is a complete template. I did not. The only thing I changed in here was the actual form, but notice there's some columns in here that are calculated columns. So it's telling me because of the date that I selected is a 13-day duration and all that other good stuff. So other folks can get, this is not approved yet, so I can't go anywhere, but other folks can come in here and do those different types of things. Notice here you can share items too as well. If you wanted to share specific items, specific tasks, you can do that and share that information. If you wanted to throw a workflow behind it, you can set a reminder, or you can actually create a flow and put an approval flow behind this process as well. I'm pretty shocked that there's no approval process already built behind this because of the fact that this is we're automating something. So all right. So any questions so far? Again, notice when I filled this out, it took me to the communication site because that's where this list lives. It lives on the communication site. When I created it for Microsoft Forms, I created it to be associated to the communication site itself. So all this list, all the settings, everything is associated to this site. But in some cases, in Microsoft List, it could be associated to its existing site. So one of the things that I wanted to uncover here is really what's happening is this is a OneDrive site. So if I take off list/presentations and hit enter, everything is built on OneDrive. So the back end of my list is your OneDrive account. So just keep that in mind as well. So if I go to I can see the list that I created. This is the one that I just created. This is another one that I created too as well. They are listed on OneDrive. And if you go and you look at the, obviously you're going to have to do some URL things here, but if you go to the site settings, as you can see here, if you can utilize site content types. If you remember before, this wasn't possible with OneDrive sites. You could not use site content types and cite those different types of things because they're just kind of restricted. But as you can see here, it's becoming more and more usable as well.
Hey, Johnny, is this available now or is it going to be deployed in October?
This is available now. This is a dev tenant, but it's starting to be deployed to everyone's tenant and is slowly getting deployed. So this is available in most tenants today. Now GCC or other tenants outside of the enterprise might have a different experience or might have a delay, but just keep in mind that this is something that is being rolled out. Good question. Do we have any questions? I see some chats. Thor, did you answer that question for Mike? Have you seen any issues where the list app doesn't show up in Office app list?
I did, yeah. Yeah, and that's I've had some long-standing issues with lists rolling out in sort of a staggered feature functionality. Like, a little bit will show up in, like someone mentioned, a little bit will show up in Teams, a little bit will show up in your Office 365 portal. But it feels like sometimes for a tenant, they don't all show up at once. All the feature functionality is not, doesn't arrive all at once. So.
Yeah, I definitely understand that. So the other thing you can do too, and that's a great question. to bring into. So with Microsoft, I need to add this to this demo. So with Microsoft Teams, what Thor's referring to is you can actually add lists to a specific team. So let's see if this pulls up. This is my test tenant. So bear with me here. So if you go to this app launcher here, this is the Teams kind of app launcher where you can add apps. If you go in there and go to list, notice, oh, I don't want to download, go away. You can go to list and you can bring list to a channel. So you can add it to a team. You can specify the team. So I want to add it to let's just say my deployment team and in the general channel, or if you notice that you can actually go through, and if there's other channels, it has to be a modern. Well, actually, you know why aren't my other things coming up? Oh, there it goes. So this general here, I can add it to a general channel. Let's see if I have more channels in this. Okay, so this is chat, teams, and apps. So I'm going to set up that tab. And what it does, it creates that tab on the actual channel itself. And now you can create lists and do those different types of things. So let's add an existing list. So you can add the link like this. Let's go back. Just create a new one. So you can create a new list. Let's just say I'm going to create an event. Use the template. Just create, and now you have a list that is part of this team. So what it does, this is a visualization of the list, but what it does, it takes the list and adds it to that equivalent SharePoint site, to that Office 365 group. And then there's the list that's on the site itself. So that's what it's doing. I think there was another question. Michael Kirshner had a question. Let's see. Yeah, and just to let you know, the experience is different, especially if you have different license SKUs, and if you have specific settings on Teams that don't allow Microsoft apps. That's another setting that will prevent that from showing up. There's a question about what's the difference between a Microsoft list on a SharePoint site and a SharePoint list on that site. Honestly, there is no difference. If it is a modern list, you can actually access that in Microsoft list. So you can, and that's the thing, it's really tied around to, there's no difference. I haven't seen any difference at all with that. So that's a great question. Yeah, so just we got a little bit more time, but so just this meme has been floating around. This meme has been floating around the internet. So if you ever seen this meme, this is one of the ones that really what it is. It's it's SharePoint behind the scenes. SharePoint, I mean OneDrive as well, but OneDrive is SharePoint technically. But now you can have more capabilities within OneDrive. But one of the strangest things that I found with this is, in my analysis, is there's no way to go between OneDrive and lists, right? Besides through the URL. So I can't access my list from here or here. But if I go, I think someone pointed this out too as well. If I hit that view layout, the layouts view list, actually it's list.spx. It takes me. It doesn't take me. Got ahead of myself. Here we go. Yeah, now it takes you here as well.
I had another question in chat. John B says, will the current SharePoint list continue to be available, or are they being replaced by this list app?
From what I've heard, there's a current list is still going to be available. SharePoint is going to be SharePoint. This app is extending that list capability to other apps in the Microsoft platform. So to Teams and to those other things like Yammer, So it's really tying it to an Office 365 group and expanding that capability outside of just the SharePoint site. Will Microsoft Access connect to the List app? No. Now, honestly, I don't think Access is available for the modern piece of it. But if you just go to a modern list, I don't think there's a way. If you open Access, you might be able to do that. So that's something that we can definitely look into as well. So if you go open it, I don't think I have access on this machine, but if you open Access, you can connect to SharePoint Online. You should be able to open these lists. Now, will it work the same as the UI? No, but if it works with SharePoint List, it's going to work with Microsoft List. I mean, honestly, I like the UI. I like the concept from an IT pro perspective and from a user perspective, but I think there's still room for improvement on the concept behind the entire thing on the back end. There's a question about, what's the next question? Michael Rivera, yeah, we're gonna. What we do with the recordings is we put these in Microsoft Stream, and we can't share Microsoft Stream externally. So what I do is I download it, put it in OneDrive, and share the link. So if anyone's interested in this, we really haven't. We need to get better at setting up a way to have these accessible through our website. WordPress isn't the easiest thing to navigate through sometimes, and a lot of times we have issues with exposing links to folks and they can't get into them anyways. So we're still working on that. But if you're interested in the recording and the presentations, we can definitely send you guys the link. If it's in the chat, what I'll do is I'll post a link in the chat for this meeting, and if you're part of that, you can access it. Does that sound good? Awesome.
Hey, Johnny, this is Michael.
Hey, Michael.
Hey. So it looks to me like in an environment like an office environment where you have various employees using SharePoint to get access to their data, to use the forms and the tools that we develop for them, will this kind of let them bypass the SharePoint site infrastructure and then just put whatever lists they like to do that they need to do for their work specifically in this environment, and then just forget about the home page and forget about just everything else in SharePoint and just jump here, set all their lists here, and get to work?
Well, I mean, the nice thing about this is central way you can manage your list for sure, right? But I don't think you're going to bypass the need for SharePoint. I think SharePoint, especially with the new modern SharePoint and coming from a classic and all that good stuff, I think SharePoint still has a purpose for intranet and for collaboration. And yes, it's pulling out this and centralizing management of it, but you're still going to be using SharePoint for news and events and different types of things as well. So I haven't seen. Let's do that. Let's create the event one. Work content scheduler. Actually, I don't think they. So the other thing is the views are lacking on some of these two as well. So if I'm sure if I create this, let's use this template. I wonder if the views. Yeah, that just what I thought. The views are lacking, right? Because I was expecting the conditional formatting on these views. And I don't see that. And I would expect on a scheduler to have a calendar view. Right. There's no calendar view. So again, there's some room for improvement, I think. But to answer your question, I think SharePoint with the communication sites and the look sites and all these other sites that are coming out with, I don't think they're going to be anytime soon, really stripping out that capability and functionality, because it's still, even if you put a list together for a team, and put some automation behind it and use cards and all that other stuff, you still need to have a place to go for this type of information as well. So does anyone have this available in their tenant? Thor, I think you said you did. Someone else, John, did you guys have this available in your tenant yet?
Yeah, it's starting to arrive. It's both in my development tenant and in our production tenant. But, because I do the consulting thing and I'm working with a lot of customers, I have found that this is not for sure rolled out to everyone.
Oh, no, for sure it's not. Yeah, absolutely.
And I think what someone had mentioned earlier, yeah, there is, Microsoft has made this somewhat effort to kind of hide SharePoint as a service. So you can live in Teams and not be aware that you're working with SharePoint. This is sort of another step in that, where you can now live in lists and not know you're in SharePoint, right? List is sort of a core service from SharePoint. SharePoint's still going to provide that feature functionality, but you can just go directly to a list's homepage or list app on your device and be blissfully unaware if you are working directly with SharePoint on a list. It doesn't have to be something you're concerned with from an end user perspective, but there's still going to be that need for certain kinds of lists from a organizational and like a departmental perspective, where that list needs to be owned by the department. Well, yeah, I mean, you can't have that living in one person's OneDrive or their personal list and, always share it from there. Sometimes it's going to be better to still use SharePoint, create the list there, and then share it back to where you can see it in my list. So it's kind of about, where it's going to live is going to sort of decide.
I see a big problem with the solution, especially from a leaver perspective. When you have someone that builds all these lists as driving data for your applications or for teams or whatever the case is, and they leave the organization, well, what happens to their OneDrive? It gets deleted in 30 days. And you have 90 days to recover that, right? So that's going to be another problem too. Is you're going to have all these folks creating these lists that are centric to their OneDrive and not a SharePoint site. So that's going to be a pain that we're going to have to deal with. But so we're consultants. It's our job to educate people on SharePoint, right?
I think so.
Yeah, for sure.
That's a question.
No, not a question.
But I agree. I mean, it's the same thing we got with Flow, and we see certain Microsoft 365 workflows that are owned by the user. What happens if they leave the organization? So if you're going to be an administrator, you're going to be responsible for Microsoft lists, definitely keep that in mind. How do you drive the right kind of adoption for lists?
Yeah, that's a big problem. I mean, you think about, you bring up a good point. You think about when that user leaves the company, how do you migrate a list in SharePoint? Unless you have a migration tool, it's not that easy. So it's going to be putting a lot of strain on the IT pro or the admin team to migrate that data. Because right now, the best way to migrate a list is to create a new one and export the data in the spreadsheet and import it. It's not easy to do that. Then you have to change your apps and all the other references that point to that list. Again, I just think it's going to be a challenge. But looking ahead, feedback definitely can go through Microsoft and go through the various channels and hopefully get some light shed on some of these gaps that we're missing. Yeah, and that's the other good. Attachments. Yeah, there's no attachments. What attachments? I never did like list attachments, Michael. Because of that point, they're not searchable. They're not. You can't move them. So if you want to copy that stuff or download a list, you don't get the attachments. You're only getting the list data. Can you demo the new edit form for lists? Oh yeah, sure. Are you still on, John? John still there? Okay. Yeah. So when you want to edit the form, same concept. You can do it from a new. So you can edit the form, and you can. It's not letting me do it because I'm presenting. But you can do the same thing. You can just customize the form, um, and it opens Power Apps. Again, you have to make sure you have a Power Apps license. I'm gonna go grab a cup of coffee while I build this form. Sometimes it's really quick. Sometimes it takes a few minutes, but hopefully
Coffee this late? You're gonna be up all night, man.
I'll still sleep like a baby. Hey, bro, I was in the Navy for 10 years, man. So I could drink coffee anytime I still go to sleep. But as you can see here, this is what it gives you. This is the form, but notice because of the fact that I'm not connected, I didn't add any fields, and it's not really complete. I have to go in and add fields to this based on the ones I want. So you have to go in there and add those fields that you want to add to the form. Some of them do this out of the box, some of them don't. So just keep that in mind. And then you can also change. This is the edit form, so you can, move some things around, throw in a label. We're gonna learn some Power Apps today too. Do some. Give it some color. Give it a good background color.
Can you show us how we can connect our list to cognitive services?
Man, come on! I'm not a developer.
Oh.
That'd be you, man. No, I'm not. I'm non-dev, so but I can do things like this. So, I mean, nice, easy form that you can do in Power Apps. You always, one of the things that is always forgotten on a form is the submit button, because you know what? Guess what? Power Apps doesn't give you that. So you can do a button, you can do an insert, and the button. You can select this and do a format editor. See if it's available. It is not. Okay, we won't worry about that because we're just going to do a fill, same color. Make this button bigger. We're going to change this button's name and say push me, submit me.
You think by now that they would actually make a button form or something to make it easy?
Yeah. So now what I have to do is I have to actually give it a function. So when I go to onSelect, I know we're way off topic now, but this is still part of it, right? So I want to submit form. So let me go find that submit form. So when I submit the form, select it. I gotta take off the false. I gotta tell them which form to submit, this is the SharePoint form 1. And then once I do that, I can publish it, save and publish. So the other thing that you have to worry about this too is if there's any list, if there are any required fields on this list, you have to make sure that you add those to the form, or you manage that list from a content perspective. This is the good thing. This is the only required. But if you want to uncheck required fields, you have to do it at the list first and let it sync to Power Apps, and then you can actually, it will change in Power Apps. So keep that in mind. But notice here I published a new, and now, 5 minutes, and come on. Oh, guys are not being nice. Fun.
So you mentioned you're not a developer, but I see that you're on a dev tenant.
Hey man, you know what? I'm an IT pro, but yeah, get access to everything.
Yeah, I don't know if people listening in are aware. One of the benefits of being sort of in the Microsoft community is that you get free Microsoft 365 tenants. Free as the day is long. You do not have to be associated with an organization that owns or has licenses to Microsoft or anything. You just go to, I believe it's developer.microsoft.com, sign up for one. You can use your personal email address. You can use your, your enterprise email address, and you get a full Microsoft 365 tenant. It can support up to 25 E5 users. It is allows. You have to use it. Otherwise, it will get deleted after like a certain amount of time. But as long as you're using it, it'll stay alive, and you can do all of this testing in these tenants. You get, full feature Power Apps, full feature Flow. You get your own SharePoint environment if you want to do SharePoint administration testing. So all the stuff that Johnny's doing, if you don't want to try these things out in your production tenant, or it's not available there yet, you're able to get one of these development tenants, do all the stuff that he's doing.
Yeah, for sure. And there's also lots in GitHub. There's lots of test content, and I can show you that real quick. A lot of these sites that you can provision. So if you don't have, obviously when you have a test environment, most of these sites that were provisioned, these are all test sites. So there's in GitHub, there's a solution that you can download and you can upload all of your content, not only from a content perspective, but also all of your users. As you can see here, I didn't go and create these one by one. There's a script that you can go through and you can assign, create all these users, and automatically it will assign license to the users. Up until the license point, like Thor was saying, there's only 25. So that's, you can, it's really cool. And again, I don't know why this is not working, but let's go back to my other list that I know that works. But as you can see here quickly, you can make that change to that Power App. You can copy this link and embed it into a page. There's a lot of things that you can do with this as well. Okay, well, that's all I have. And yeah, no problem. Always here to help. If you guys have any questions, you can reach out to me directly, johnny.lopez@HOU365.org. You can follow me on Twitter. I'm actually started a new YouTube channel too as well. It's called the Rocket Channel. There's I'm doing a lot of videos on Teams right now, but I'm gonna start doing videos on List and those different type of productivity tools that you can use. And yeah, thanks everyone for joining, and we'll see you.
Contact information in the chat, please.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And you said you're going to give us a link to how to get this video.
I am. I'm gonna post it in this chat. And if you have any dev questions too, Thor's always available. He's a good guy to reach out to talk about dev stuff.
Oh, he just threw me under the bus. Yeah. If you want to throw my email in, I can throw my email in. Give me a second here. You guys are more than welcome to, ask me questions around Microsoft 365 development, sort of more in the weeds stuff with Teams, SharePoint. The question you guys asked earlier, what's going on with Microsoft lists being rolled out, all that kind of stuff is fair game. Glad to help.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, thank you everyone. Have a great rest of your evening, and we'll see you next time.